think I got that. Let's see. It's always funny, like with the two computers here, one's streaming. I'm not going to stream this live. It's recording to my computer.
Yep.
But I figured easier to the internet's not very good where I am, so I don't want to kill my connection and then have it going. So
I think it's better anyway. If people want to watch it live, they can come in and talk to us.
exactly, yeah. And I can have it. It'll record, and then I can just upload. It'll upload automatically, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 more second. What do I need to do here? I just posted a little update in the lab. I've been slow to update because I've been on the road, but I got a little update in there. I posted. And then yeah, you can hit the kickoff anytime you want, Ellen.
Ooh, let's just get cadmonkey up here. There he is. Good morning.
GM.
Jim. Welcome.
I can't hear you guys. Let me check my
We can
audio.
hear you.
After the battle, you can hear. It's a weird one. Normally it's opposite. Normally it's hearing is fine. It's the mic that's the issue.
There's Stu, GM Stu.
Let's see. Do you want? Can I go ahead and start the event?
Yeah, I think we're good. Are you good? Can you hear us, cadmonkey? Doesn't sound good. Can't hear us.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is weird.
Trying to think why you would have you have lots of issues with the microphone, but why you would have audio coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the chat. There it is.
I could say oh, Stu saying restart Discord. Yeah, I forgot we have chat, so we could chat there.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what do you do if you can't talk?
How do we communicate?
Yeah. Yeah, so we could.
Yeah.
I mean, up to you, Ellen. What do you want to do? We could just sort of do some updates and stuff, and then
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
As soon as it fixes it.
Yeah, and this week it's me who's on the sickness deathbed, Scobel. So yeah, if I drop off,
who's sick? You're sick.
Me, I am.
You're sick. Oh my God, you got contagious from 2 weeks ago.
I got the Rona.
Imagine, it's so funny.
It's
like
not
a
too
Black
bad,
Mirror
though.
episode. People getting viruses over the internet.
through the computer. Yeah, I do. I've got
It's
COVID.
funny. Oh, you do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's been some kind of resurgence a little bit.
Definitely.
Around here.
There has
I don't
been
know.
too.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you get tested? Did you actually go get a test, or is that
Yeah, I tested because I'm a teacher. If we have symptoms, we have to test.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, but like honestly, and I know I'm probably one of the lucky ones, but I would have just taken some cold and flu tablets and powered through if the test wasn't positive. So, it's just kind of like a bad cold.
Yeah. It's super weird. I just see Cadmonkey saying that he hears music, but not us speaking. Maybe I saw Melted in here. I mean, Stu, I assume you can hear us, right, Stu? Come up on stage and solve this for us if you want. I have no idea. I mean, we could kill the stage and start it over, but I don't know if that would solve it.
Because usually the music plays when you're waiting to come in, but you haven't come in.
Let Cadmonkey up, and if Cadmonkey, if you can share your screen, I'll have a quick
He
look.
says he hears it now.
Oh, perfect.
GM, I hear you now, finally.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
Scopes, by the way, Black Mirror's out currently, the new season.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Excited. I'm gonna start watching it.
So you good, Cadmonkey? You can hear us now?
Yeah, finally. Thanks. Sorry.
Awesome. Podcaster Stu solved our issues.
Do we wait, or we could have just start?
We'll kick off. We'll hear a little update from Scobes first. What have you been up to? You said you're traveling. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm up in the middle of Canada right now at a place called Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So I've got it's where I have a RV that was manufactured here. So they're doing a bunch of little updates and repairs and all sorts of fun stuff to the RV here in town, and then head west. Going to go back to the mountains and spend maybe a month and a half there, and then I'll go east again. So I'm always on the road, but yeah, I'm out in
Saskatchewan. It sounds like where Bigfoot would be from.
Yeah, it's where all the grain is produced. Canola and grain. It's our farming, kind of like our farming prairies of Canada.
Yeah, right. Any cool things to create into 3D worlds up there?
Yeah, I got there's this place called Grasslands National Park. You can look it up. It's incredible. It's actually really incredible. It's just like describe it. A lot of grass, but just a really beautiful landscape, like big kind of huge swaths of grass, lots of like elevation change, kind of like these buttes, or it's a really interesting landscape. And I actually may go right down there after this and spend some time. I was there on the drive in, but only for a day, and I think I might set up and work on like an interactive 3D thing from there. It kind of inspired me. So, but yeah, definitely. And then once I get west, then there's some spots I got to stop in when places I've created previous photographs from that I want to recreate in 3D. So I'll be heading out to some cool spots in the Rockies.
Very nice. How long is the road trip?
Well, it's about in terms of just say in driving hours, just standard driving hours, it's about a 35-hour drive from like Ontario, Canada, Toronto, to out to the mountains to where you kind of hit the Rockies. So
how many hours did you just say? 35?
35, yeah.
Oh my god.
It's funny. That's like nothing. I don't even blink at that. Like I think of that. I go, well, it's like 4 days, and I just take off and go, and yeah, no big deal for me. But for a lot of people, that's crazy. When you have like an RV, though, it doesn't feel like that kind of a drive.
True. I'm just calculating how many times I could fly between here and LA in 35 hours. Only
It's true.
twice. Only twice, I suppose.
Yeah,
2.5 maybe.
I like driving though. It's very therapeutic for me. I listen to a podcast. I think about ideas. I can't work, so it's kind of like a bit of a meditation. I do enjoy a good drive.
Yeah, I actually very much enjoy driving too. I make everyone let me drive on the long trips.
I hate driving, but I actually should do that more often because I don't. I was having this thought to myself the other day that I don't have enough activities that force me just to think, other than having a shower. And it's where I actually get my best ideas is when I'm just thinking without distraction.
Mm.
Probably
The
a good
kitchen's a
idea.
good place as well. Cooking is a excellent thought.
I listen to a podcast then generally.
So what else, Scobes? You got anything coming up in the works other than your traveling?
Yeah, we're close on the Fuji the Mount Fuji piece, which it's in the lab. You can kind of see the updates. I think we're going to do is next 2 weeks from now, where we would normally do another interview. I think we'll probably switch it up. There's probably going to be. I don't want to kind of promise anything, but it looks like there's probably going to be a super rare, like a space hosted by super rare, and a couple other collaborators, and we're going to launch this project on super rare. I can tell you a couple quick things, and then we can dive into talking to cadmonkey, because I'm always more interested in what other people are doing. But you can go take a look at the lobby, or sorry, at the lab if you've got access. Maybe I'll post something in Lab Leaks. I don't know if that still works. Maybe Stu, you can try it. You probably have access. See if you can drop the link that I just posted in the lab into Lab Leaks. See if it works. But yeah, it's going to be a dynamic piece. So I've got 24 different 3D renders of the same exact location in Japan, in Mount Fuji. Couldn't decide which one I liked the best when I was sort of working on this. I decided just to make all 24. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be a totally dynamic piece, working with Transient Labs on this one. So we're going to launch it probably in 2 weeks on Super Rare, and then kind of a little spoiler for the group here. It's going to use Transient's Shatter contract with some custom coding. So we're going to set it up where the collector can ultimately, they'll have a cool piece that changes between 24 different scenes. But if they choose to, they can split it into 24 individual unique 101s, and they could auction those off, or they could list them on OpenSea, or they could just keep them for themselves. So pretty pumped about that. It's all kind of coming together, and I've got 16 of the 24 done, which you see probably in the lab, and then I got the 8 left to finish, and then we're ready to rock. So yeah, heads down on that, Ellen, for the next 2 weeks.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. Very excited about this. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of it's just. Other than that, that's all going on for me.
It's the state of the Scobelverse.
That's the state of the Scobelverse. We got Stu. Stu just did a cool interview, which I'm excited about. He posted that. You should see that in announcements. Like, we've always kind of wanted, these ideas to come out of this. We've always said like a little co-working space for Web3. It's obviously been super quiet, I think, across Web3, but it's cool to see it. Well, it's cool to see this interview series, first of all, kind of happening with Ellen's been leading it, and then Stu's been interviewing or starting to interview 6529 meme artists. So I was the first interview, and he's got a bunch lined up. I'm pretty pumped to watch that happen, and yeah, that's probably all that's going on right now.
And it kind of ties in Scopes to, obviously, Scobelverse is always going to become the co-working space of the metaverse effectively. And I'm thinking it's going to be good just to do all of the interviews in Scobelverse, so that all the 6529 artists end up in the Scobelverse Discord, and we have a cool place for everyone to be.
Yeah, for sure. It's super cool. I'm happy to do that. Are you going to let people jump into the to the center stage and watch the interviews live if they want the behind the scenes early access.
Yeah, I think I might next time. What do you think? I mean, I've got no qualms about doing it. I'm happy to do it if people wanted to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it'd be cool to have that option of doing a bit of a behind the scenes live viewing if they want to.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's super cool. And you don't have to promote it too much, but if people are here and they see the link go up, they can jump in and listen in on the interview and even shoot some questions to you on the chat if they feel like it. So yeah,
that might be quite
happy
cool.
if you use it that way. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. What's been really pleasing is the amount of there's been quite a few artists that have from the meme cards that have reached out individually and said this is great. We'd love to have a format to talk kind of long form about our work. So there's definitely interest from the artists themselves to jump up. I know some of them English isn't their first language and whatever, and I'm sure I'll find a way to accommodate getting those people on. But it's nice to see that the artists actually want to have a space to speak to.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, speaking of artists, what you got, Stu?
I was just going to ask one last thing before we jump into this. Did you see 6529's purchase this morning?
No, I didn't.
No.
He got the goose, 7 mil. He was a successful bidder on the Dmitry.
What was it?
The Dmitry Cherniak. I think I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm absolutely butchering the name, but this one. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
6529. It was a pretty competitive auction apparently, and 6529 won it with I think close to 7 mil.
Wow. And just like that, Stu's gone. All right. Should we jump in and have a chat with Cadmonkey?
Hey.
Hello. Good morning,
Hello.
GM. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for the invite. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay,
You can hear us all right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll just dive straight in with you.
Sure.
Your artworks are pretty, what's the word? Unique seems like it doesn't quite cover it. They're like nothing I've ever seen before. Just the way they move and the fluidity and you describe it as computational forms and formations.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us what that means and how you create these?
Sure. Yeah. So just brief background. I think I've talked to Matt about this before. I studied architecture in undergrad, and then I did some research work at MIT for what's called computational design. So what I mean by computational form and formation is that I don't really like to use the term digital per se, because that's kind of a pure medium for me, whereas computational, the word computational is kind of a way of thinking. It's about the process and not about the medium. So you could say, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with, for example, Gaudi's architecture, the Sagrada Familia, for example, which has been building for hundreds of years. You could argue that is a sort of computational work where he built the structure based on sort of natural forces, and he calculates all the forces to sort of materialize that form. So you could do computational work without it being digital, is sort of what I was trying to get across using the word. And I use the word form and formation because I don't want to just talk about shapes, which are forms. but again, formations are about the processes themselves. So I sort of value the sort of work in progress as much as the result itself. And so that's pretty much it. And so I was delighted to hear that Scobel was working with Transient again, because I haven't told anyone this, but to leak a little bit, I was actually talking to Transient yesterday as well, thinking about how to integrate their technology into the kind of work I do, because I'm always interested in sort of pushing the boundary, not only sort of aesthetically, but also technically and technologically. So yeah, that's sort of a pretty brief description of my background and sort of my thinking process.
And what's the actual technical process
Yeah.
that you do? I mean, I personally, like, I can't even fathom how you create these.
Yeah.
They're incredible. I don't know if you,
Thank you.
I'm just sharing my screen with
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
video of the couple that you sent me.
Yeah, so these are actually, I think probably most of the audiences here are like regular dad and son. They're familiar with the work. This is a series of animations based on Rick's self piece. So Rick Osenbroek had this sort of competition to use his piece as a base to sort of remix it, and this is sort of the work that came out of it. And so in terms of the creation process, I usually model in 3D. So a lot of these works are actually done in 3D, and then I kind of sort of extract some information or visualize it in 2D differently. So I typically work in this 3D modeling software called Rhino 3D, which is widely used in the automobile and architectural design industry. But instead of sort of modeling purely in 3D in a way that's sculpting, I script it. So I sort of work with the back end of the software using this plugin called Grasshopper, which is a sort of visual programming language that you could then parametrically define geometry. So you can see how, for example, the one on the left, it's actually based on an algorithm that's called differential growth. So that's sort of similar to how some of the natural forms like cells or tree trunks sort of start to branch and grow, and then know the relationship between itself as it grows. So yeah, I'm interested in combining always kind of different techniques, and like you said, I like outputs that kind of make people think like how was it done? Because it's sort of multiple layers of defamiliarization, so to speak.
And just when you said then that you use a plugin to sort of play around with the back end of that software, what gave you the idea to try that, or to know that was even a thing that was possible?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty well-known plugin. It's almost not even considered a plugin anymore. It's kind of became like a built-in suite to the software itself because it's so kind of widely used and recognized. It just simply put, parametrically done, it just simply means that instead of drawing a line using my hand or even using mouse, right, as typically would be done by, let's say, graphic designers or even 3D modelers sculpting forms, I don't draw. Let's say I actually define the 2 points between the line. I define XYZ coordinates of these points, which then form the line. And so by doing so, I could always change the coordinates of the lines, the points, such that the lines are always different, right? Like it could be based on time, it could be based on sort of any parameter, any input, because it is sort of parametrically defined.
So the one on the left,
Yeah,
that like morphs into a kind of a head. What's the inspiration there?
Yeah, so it's actually based on Rick's work. Let me see if I can find it.
I'll unshare mine so that you can jump in there.
Sure, yeah.
Actually, now that you've said that, I do think I know the Rick Ostenberg work that you're talking about. Ostenbrick, sorry.
Let's see. This is the first time I'm sharing screen yet, so bear with me.
Beautiful.
Does this work? Yeah. So basically, it's this piece, and I mean, Rick provided sort of the outline of this piece, and what I did was basically turn this into a field of values. But like I can say that I think this is probably 5 by 7 or something like that, the aspect ratio. But like I could place like a grid of 500 to 700 points, for example, and sample every single point, their brightness, and then do something with that, right? Like I just need a sort of input, and then I can process it to a custom algorithm.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
While you've got your screen up, we'd love to see like some of your favorites if you can choose. I don't want to make you choose between your children, but
Sure. No worries. Yeah, I have them opened up actually.
Cool.
Let's see. I think actually, well, yeah, it's difficult to choose, but I thought some of the pieces like this one, Contour Moto, was pretty interesting to me, and it's like we were talking about yesterday. It's so hard to kind of show it well on Twitter. I actually often when I publish or share my pieces, I have to go through multiple trial and error steps to know that it works exactly as it should. Because, for example, the line weights themselves, how many lines are in there, how fast the lines are moving, actually are always kind of different. Even within Twitter, it's like different on desktop and on mobile, and I have to make sure that they always kind of look okay, or like at least represent the piece, right? So as you can see here, like if you see this piece from far away or like in low resolution, you can't see anything. But if you actually enlarge it, can you still see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually sort of thousands of lines constantly kind of rotating and never touching one another. And then also like forming a perfect 6-second loop. But this is kind of all based on, like I said before, like a field of information. I basically render out a 3D, based on the 3D model, I render out an image of Nakamoto, and then I kind of remapped it and then wrote an algorithm to animate it.
And are there different algorithms for the different like patterns? Are they very different to each other?
Sometimes they're very different. Sometimes they're actually quite similar, but sort of visualized differently. So, for example, let's see. Yeah, the piece you were looking at earlier, like this piece, the self-growth 1 and the 2 and the 3 are actually the same algorithm, but visualized differently. So, for example, 2, if you can sort of imagine, it's actually 1, but visualize it like all the steps at the same time, kind of. So you see how the curves are kind of growing and moving. This is actually, the second one is just showing all the steps kind of at once, overlay on top of each other.
Right.
Yeah, and the third one is actually a kind of a simple flip of it, where instead of growing the curves itself, I was connecting all the curves sort of transversely. So you can see the direction is slightly different, where each of the curves coming out of the third one is actually just the movement of every single point of the first one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Hypnotizing as well, just watching them.
Yeah.
Regular dad thinks they should be on a 6.9 second loop. So you might have dropped the ball there a little bit.
Yeah. Actually I picked 6 because it's such a kind of interpretable number because I can sometimes do a 3-second loop and a 2-second loop, but that the
Yeah.
2-second loop and the 3-second loop would line up well with the 6-second loop as well when I show all the pieces at the same time. So it's actually
Okay,
all so it's actually like all kind of curated. So if you look at
yeah,
this
there's a
page, for
reason
example,
behind everything.
yeah, they kind of all kind of line up. Sometimes one is like twice as fast as the other. Yeah. And so even these, I think they're like 6-second loops, but they're actually GLB files. So you could, you can
Oh, so
interact
it's
with them,
interactive.
yeah, directly on OpenSea, but also like, yeah, you can put it on Cyber as well, and then yeah, and you can see.
That's awesome. I didn't know it did that.
There's actually a piece that I think it's still currently the GLB file that features the most polygon that's portable and on Cyber, because I went to this
Yes.
sort of extensive
This one's actually my
compression.
favorite.
Oh, thanks. So yeah, so these are all, yeah, just kind of like mimics a mask, but these are actually all like individual polygons. Also based on Rick's self. So these are all actually in his wallet.
Yeah. So that seems like a totally different process again.
Yeah,
Then
this one I was like truly actually exploring sort of 3D forms instead of remapping them onto 2D. Actually, I could maybe briefly talk about my first piece. This guy, if you see the holder, it's actually Cody, which is insane because that's actually how I kind of started collecting. Creating and minting my own work, because Cody actually. This was actually done as kind of like just for fun. I was writing a thread for Matt Kane's Fake Rare, which he still hasn't distributed, but he was asking everyone to write. I'm not sure why it's not loading, but he was asking everyone to write a thread in order to have a chance to collect his Fake Rare. And I was writing this thread, and I was like creating pieces to support sort of my argument. And Cody saw it, and he kind of just cold DM'd me one day and said, "This piece looks really cool. How do I collect it?" And I said, "Oh, well, I had no plan to release it. You know, I haven't minted anything then. I think it was June or July of last year."
Yeah.
And so he said, "Well, mint it, and I will put an offer on it." So, and then yeah, the rest is history. I minted it, and then I just thought then I would just keep going, you know. So I was like pretty much releasing a piece every month or so. And then yeah, luckily they're almost, I think they're always a bid coming in like the day I mint every piece. So it's been pretty incredible so far, the support.
So that's just on that journey into NFTs and Web3.
Yeah.
You must have been like, how did you actually get into this style of art? That led.
Well, actually, before I started minting my work, I was like collecting a lot already. So I was first, actually, I'm not sure many know, but probably regular Dan knows. I actually was an early BAYC holder. So I bought in when it was, I think like the floor was not even 0.3. It was like
Nice.
It was like the week after it really sold out. And I sort of flipped my way up, like many how they entered the space is like through like flipping PFPs. So I flipped my way up, and then unfortunately I lost it through a scam. And so
Oh no.
yeah, so and it was I think it was Christmas of 21, like literally like 2 days before Christmas. And it was like right before the BAYC floor went to like 100 ETH or something, right? So I was like, I pretty much lost a house, I guess.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, but luckily, right, like I bought it when it was like 0.2, 0.3, so it was like not like sort of like real like losing all my assets, so to speak. And but then like the thought back then was like, okay, I enjoyed the space a lot, and maybe I could sort of use my own ability, let's say, and build it back, right? So then I thought I will start showing my work. but then I didn't really know when was the right time to release. So yeah, that was basically it. At first, it was really to kind of participate in a way that's not just collecting, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. See, I faded BAYC at 0.5. I thought it had already done its run, so and I still feel like I missed out on a house. So
Yeah, now hopefully that story makes you feel better.
it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that first piece you did was kind of the kickoff to give you that push that you already wanted to do anyway.
Yeah. So and then I guess then I enter into Rick's competition, which then kind of actually became really good friends with him. Like I talk to him almost every day now since like last September. And then yeah, so this is I think this is chronological order actually. So these 3 were done for him, which I then sent to him, never put on sale, and then I then sort of did a series that's like based on that, right? Like the growth ones that's based on actually this piece. And then so I was doing 3. And then I did a Nakamoto's, which was I guess pretty well received because this is complete crazy. I don't know if you can't see it here, but this was like sold for like almost 2 ETH. I never thought that was gonna go like that. And then because of, I guess, of this piece, I started to in a way get onto the radar of some bigger collectors. Let's say like you see NorCal here, started bidding on my pieces, but he still has yet to collect one. But I hope one day soon. I know I think he's a collector of Scobels, I'm pretty sure. I think that's how Scobel releases meme card as well, right? Like that's the piece and the band one. And also like G Money was bidding as well. And yeah, so I think this was right before kind of everything went for a downturn recently. And so recently I sort of was selling for less, but I mean I don't really mind because the 2 ETH was just insane. And then I started doing some pipes, which I've always wanted to, but then I guess this is finally the right time. So I guess that is to say that there is at least one more pipe coming because I kind of have to.
We have to do 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So these ones are pretty new. When did you mint these?
These were they're always like a month or so. So this was like end of April. And then the other one was end of May. This one was interesting because this is only like a 3-second loop, but it looks like it goes on. Like I still look at it all the time because it looks like it goes on forever.
Because, it does, yeah. Even if you're looking at the little spots, they don't
so if you
seem
follow
to come back around.
Exactly. If you follow one single point, it goes on forever because the trick is this is actually one single line, and so the points are moving on that line. So all I have to do to make the loop is to cut it right at where the one point moves to where the next point was. You know what I mean? And then it just goes on forever.
I'm just staring at it with my face very close to the computer screen.
So yeah, but yeah, I guess after all this, I mean, I probably will just keep on doing lots of pipes because I love them. I mean, recently, actually, the most recent piece is this fake rare that sold out. Actually, I think it's one of the only fake rares that sold out recently. Yeah, I was lucky that one of the team members like reached out to me and said they want to include my work into the directory. So I was given 2 days to kind of. I already had the piece ready, but I was given 2 days to burn this piece called Fake as Fuck. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the process, but you're supposed to burn a piece in order to be included in the directory. And so I had to market buy the piece, and it was like sitting at 0.64 ETH. And so I had to spend that 0.64 ETH before I even released the piece. And then, yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't be included. And then I think like after all this, and like the team took a cut and some reserve, like I think I barely broke even or something. But it was just like kind of an honor to be included into this directory.
Yeah, you get to be a piece of history, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think once the fake as fuck cards are gone, it's like there will be no more new pieces in this directory. I'm not sure how many are left though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have. Does this count as your third Peppy, or are we going to get a third?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do another one because this is kind of an addition.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Any sneak previews of that little guy?
No, I actually don't have previews yet, but I am working on it. I have no previews yet. But it's gonna be animated for sure, and probably green, just because I mean they have been green
Well,
so
it's
far.
Peppy, right?
So yeah, I am kind of a big fan of black and white, which I mean I think a few collectors kind of dislike. I mean I think it was Sunday who collected this piece, and then he said, when is the next piece that's gonna be colorful? And so then he actually collected this piece in the end. That was, I guess, colorful. But to me, I think black and white is really interesting because it really kind of emphasizes, what I'm trying to emphasize. Instead of kind of having too many parameters.
Yeah. Well, there's nowhere to hide, right? You've
It's
got,
like it's like it's really about movement, for example. It's
Yeah.
really about trying to make you focus on what's actually moving. But I guess a single color is fine too.
Well, I guess that's kind of like black and white, just
Yeah,
with-
exactly. Yeah. I hope I didn't talk for too long. I got a little excited.
Not at all. Not at all. We love hearing about it.
Cool.
And I think that this is the closest I have held my face to the screen for any of our artists.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's hypnotizing to see all the movement, and even with your explanation, my mind is blown as to how you do it.
Thank you.
Very cool. So we've got we've got a few people in the audience. I wonder if anybody wants to ask you any questions, or Scobel, if he has any questions. He's probably sitting there biting his fingernails, trying not to talk.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Try not to. Hey man, I have a kind of a comment and a question, and then if there's people in the chat that have questions or even want to pop up here and say hi, it would be super cool. Just something on my mind before I forget.
Yeah.
When you're talking to Transient, ask Ben or Daniel about the contract that Ben showed me yesterday.
Okay.
I don't know if he mentioned it to you, but specifically this contract they have it's really cool because it would allow like you'd almost mint or include like say different color variations of the same animation, and then the collector can actually pick like in the metadata they can actually like trigger something on Etherscan that would change the color of the image being displayed. It's really cool, and he showed me some implementations. It doesn't make sense for what I'm doing, but I think it would be super cool with the two-tone style where like the collector could kind of decide what they wanted on the artwork. So something just to chat with him about. He's super keen about it too.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for bringing it up. Yeah, they actually briefly talked to me about it, but like in a more vague manner. Like they didn't really say color, but they just said probably something that can involve the collectors to pick what they want in the end, and in a way sort of like decide the rarity, so to speak. So.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's super cool, especially if you ever do it as an addition. I thought it was really, really clever. But my question is like, what's really cool about your work is that it just visually is stunning right away. As soon as you see it, you're like, okay, wow, this is really cool. But it's also like incredibly technical. And I have this challenge, and I'm curious if you have thoughts on it. Like, how do you feel? Like, how do you go about communicating, to the average collector, like what goes into the work that you're creating? Have you
Yeah.
struggled with that, or have you come up with a technique, and or do you even think it's important for them to understand the technical,
Yeah.
detail that goes into what you're creating?
Yeah, I love this question. I know you asked because I think you struggle with the same, not to say struggle, but like you face the same sort of issue, right? Like your work is also highly technical in the back end as well. And I think I've tried many ways, and I think I'm sure you have as well. I used to be very keen on sort of explaining every single detail, but then I started to realize that that's probably not the most effective way. Not in NFTs, I mean in anything. And so nowadays I sort of just try to condense it into, let's say, a tweet or two, and I'll try to limit myself. And I thought actually that's a good way to think about it, where because we always say the medium is the message as well, right? So you when we're using Twitter, for example, we should know our medium and the medium of this sharing platform as well. So how to effectively convey your ideas through like very sort of concise messages. I think it's very important. And what I've been doing recently as well is in those sort of sub tweets, I limit myself to like maybe 3 tweets nowadays, 4. I also include close-ups, for example, because as I mentioned earlier, this contour model piece is like you can't even really see if I show the whole piece on Twitter. So in the next tweet, I would kind of include a close-up, let's say usually 2x, so that you can still kind of see the overall picture, but the detail as well, and also showing like work in progress screenshots, which I'm sure all of you do as well. But recently, I've been thinking about going back to sort of going into more details, but kind of include in a separate article, let's say. So for Rick's pieces, I actually wrote a super long, let's see if I can find on Twitter, article on it. I don't think anyone has ever read it, actually. I think maybe Rick read it, but so I've been thinking about doing this now. So like if I have the time, I actually will sit down and write out all the processes and like the thought, the algorithm, the challenges behind it, and kind of just include in the announcement or the tweet as well as like in the end, like, oh, for more details, please visit this. And I guess that's like kind of a short answer to your, I think, pretty important question.
Wonder if a little video or something, I guess kind of like we've done here, that you post, that goes for 5 or 10 minutes that people could watch and actually digest that way, in our world of people not being able to read more than a paragraph at a time.
Yeah.
I wonder if
I think a short video is a
having
good
that
idea.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, like even this, I think it's like way too long. Like even I'm scrolling now, I'm like, who the fuck's gonna read this, right? But I mean, it's a good way for me to even document it myself and like being able to come back to it. But yeah, like I think a short video is a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, not just to give you my perspective, I think you're doing it the right way. It's you got to keep it brief and figure out the quickest way to communicate. But
Yeah,
I think the long form stuff like this is so powerful because not everyone's going to read it, but one day somebody who's super into your work is maybe considering a very high priced piece, and like they find this and they start to scroll through, and all it takes is like one person to have that like holy crap moment, and it's documented, right? You always have it. If somebody says, hey, like technically how do you do this, you just send them the link. So I think you should keep doing this stuff, and yeah, we'll look back on it one day, I think, and appreciate the fact that we documented the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, and just building on that as well, I think Mirror is probably a good platform to do it because it's on chain, right? Like all the changes and your publishing is documented, like you said. So like it's always there to look back on.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. With the long form, as someone who does like to read more than one paragraph. I often get irritated when I'm trying to research something and all you can find is the short form stuff. You know,
Right.
you want to read something that goes into depth and actually explains things. So I think it's definitely nice to have this option.
I actually just thought of something really cool, which I've never thought about, but that because Scobel brought it up, we could actually include this in the metadata as well, right? Like you could put, well, this is on chain, and like we could probably include text-based formats on RW, for example, and include the metadata of the piece itself. So let me just show a random piece, for example, here. I always kind of include additional files in my metadata, and I think I feel like a lot of people don't care, but like you said, like the serious collector will one day look back and probably like look into all this, and you see that there's always a GIF that it's shareable on Twitter, less than 15 megabyte, and then the high-res animation as well, and probably you could also include like something like this within the link as well, you know.
I couldn't find my mute because I was off mute. Yeah, you know what? I've never even looked into mirror.xyz, so you distracted me for a minute because I started to go down the rabbit hole. But yeah,
super cool. It's like you can even collect it as I think an NFT. I think it's on the Optimism network.
Oh, so the actual website
article
is a token.
It could be, yeah. Well, the entry is a token, but yeah, I mean, you see how like there's even RV transaction of when you publish it.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
This seems like
really cool.
seems like a candidate for that new contract that
this is really cool.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot, man.
unfortunately,
Now I got something else I got to dive into. Great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got lazy and I only wrote one entry so far, but I should write more.
All right, so let's see if anyone in the audience, anyone want to jump up here? Any brave souls?
Such a non-curious group of people.
No, these are all friends. I recognize all the names.
Yeah, they're all friends, but just drop a little question in the chat, ask something, your favorite color, I don't know, your favorite soup, something. Come on. There we go. See, you gotta shame people. You gotta shame people in this space. That's the only way to do it. Look at that. One brave soul.
Welcome.
Hey, what's up, man? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. Cadmonkey. I can't believe that we've known each other for, gosh, over a year, and this is the first time that we're speaking. This is crazy.
Yeah. So,
crazy.
So everyone's son is actually in Midnight Labs with me, I think, right?
Yeah. That's correct. I've learned an awful lot from you, and it's been it's actually been quite inspirational in a way, just watching you emerge as an artist and watching your collector base sort of grow and build and to watch you contributing to the space. So it's been wonderful to watch. Really inspiring. So I've got a couple of questions. I'll start with sort of a fairly superficial one. So best moment in Web3, and I think you've mentioned your worst moment, which is probably getting your apes taken.
Yeah.
What would you say your best moment in Web3 has been to date?
Oh man, there are actually so many. I know it's such a cliche to say that, but I mean, when Cody DM'd me, for example, that was just mind blowing. I guess also one of the greatest moments as a collector is when I finally collected a Gazer. I feel like probably many of you know because I was shilling it so much. So because I mean, I think that is one of the most technically advanced project out there, and like that truly leverages the technology of blockchain. So that's one, and I guess like really like a lot of the moments, because like for example, when I finally get accepted into Fake Rare, that was incredible. Because I used to, right, like I'm sure you do too, like you were collecting all these Fake Rares by, like, let's say ACK and Dimitri, all these people, and you finally sort of, let's say, become you get a seat at the table. And also like becoming friends with many people, like Scobo, when I met him at NorCal's brunch, that was so cool, because I remember Scobo actually just like hop on a voice chat with me one day out of nowhere, and then we just like chatted about, like, that was like right before the Scobelverse setup, the Discord setup, and just like, yeah, meeting everyone in real life. I was like, those are amazing experiences as well. Yeah, becoming friends with Rick, like all this, and like, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's always nice just to get a little bit of insight into, I guess, people's sort of overall experiences in the space, and that's
Yeah.
positive and negative, you know.
Yeah.
Now, another question. This is something that we've touched on in Discord, just when, you know, at times that we've been chatting about art and the space in general. Time is an element of the blockchain that people don't really talk about much. People talk about the sort of the superficial, the visual aspect of things, and community and things like that. But, you know, I sort of view NFT art, like blockchain art, as more a 3D space, with time being a really important element.
Yes.
And just looking at your work as well, there is, you know, time is a pretty considerable factor in your pieces. What are your thoughts on that in general?
Yeah, this is a great question. Yes. I like I just mentioned about Gazer. I mean, we share the same sort of appreciation of this topic. And I think for me, I think I'm still sort of lacking this dimension, to be honest, in my work. Yes, animation is sort of based on time, and yeah, it changes sort of, but static sort of in a way, right? Because it's not actually responsive, let's say, or like changing forever. It's in a loop, and I think that's what's making Gazer special. And I think that is definitely one thing I for sure want to include in my upcoming work. And I think, like Scobo mentioned about transient, all these like cool things they're doing for them, changing colors and other things. I think that's one thing, but I definitely want to sort of discuss with them how to incorporate time as well. And I think recently we probably chatted about this as well, about the chrono photographs. That's also one. That's also one way of doing it.
I was hoping you'd bring that up, because that was it took me a little bit of time to get my head around that project. And to be honest, I'm still getting my head around it, because you know, time, it sort of approaches time as a really massive spectrum, you know.
Yeah, I think, well, for those who are not familiar, it's the FB's most recent project with LACMA through Cactoid Labs. It's also a time-based project where pieces will get minted over time on an exponential curve, and all the future pieces get more and more high resolution. So sort of a commentary on also advancement of technology and byway and resolution as well. And I think that's also one way of manifesting time using technology of the chain. And yeah, I actually was just thinking about how to, in other ways, incorporate it, but also not deviating from sort of my type of work too much. And that is still a question for me. I was just thinking about it after talking to Transient yesterday.
Cool. I mean, I wonder if pace has, you know, can have some influence in your work, because again, it's like, you know, 3-second loops, 6-second loops.
Yes.
The pace is also, I guess, quite important, just in conveying meaning. Okay, and I guess, my last question, looking forward, what are your ambitions for your work or areas you'd like to grow into? Of, you know, just looking forward, what are your thoughts on your work and the space in general?
Yeah. I briefly touched on that, but I guess to be more specific, I've actually, when I started, I'd say creating for the space, I've always kind of, because of my training, I've always been a designer, but I never really thought of using blockchain as a medium. And when I started thinking about it, art blocks was sort of always one thing on my mind. I actually touched base with, who is it, like Jeff Davis and all the sort of the team members back in the days, like early 2021, sort of talking to them about like if there's any possibility of me releasing on art blocks. And because I don't code in JavaScript, so they said it's a no. I mean, even nowadays, like art blocks is still all JavaScript-based projects. So that is to say, I want to create let's say, generative collection. So not just one-on-ones, but not necessarily in the way that most understand generative work, because I think a lot of the generative work, as understood by NFT people, let's say, that's such a broad term, but is sort of these abstract geometric forms. But actually, all my works are generative, as I've talked to the processes, and how to sort of expand the mass appreciation of generative art, not just in how people understand it, and not only that, but also do it in sort of a novel way, right? Like it's, let's say, incorporating time or incorporating like 3D GOV interactable file formats and objects, and yeah, just all that, like integrating just different boundaries of the technology, pretty much.
Very cool. I mean, I'm cheering for you, man. I'm supporting. So I look forward to see where you take us, where the work goes. And one last question. I've asked everybody this that I've spoken to recently. Are you gonna get an Apple Vision Pro?
I think the answer is yes, eventually.
There's only one answer. There's only one answer. It's got to be yes. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what that eventually means. I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's cool, but $3,500 is a lot. I mean, maybe when ETH goes to 4K again, right?
Well, I was going to say, think of it in ETH terms, and it might not feel so much. Like, I have a habit of doing that. I'll sort of say 2 ETH, or X number of $1,000.
Yeah, maybe when I sell 3 more pieces, right, I can cover it.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for having me up here. Great speaking to you, man. And we'll chat obviously in Discord, but I look forward to having more voice interactions with you. Scobes, Ellen, thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for jumping up. Very cool questions.
Yeah.
So, is Crypto Bro as brave as Son of Last G? Is he going to jump up and ask some questions?
Yeah, you're taunting them. No, oh, here we go. Yes. No, I actually look forward to speaking to them because they appear on my Twitter all the time, but I have never really interacted with them, even in text form.
Hey, how's it going?
Perfect.
Hey, how are
you?
Welcome. Yeah, I guess my question is, I'm a coder myself, and I actually happen to be getting into P5.js, but I really love the stuff that you're doing, and wonder if you can give me some hints on where to get started.
Oh, yes. P5. Like I said earlier, I'm not sort of personally super familiar and fluent in Java, but I know that the processing organization has a lot of resources, and I know that sounds kind of vague, but particularly this book, which has been out for a while, that I always recommend people when they're starting. Let me find it. Maybe you've come across it already, but it's called The Nature of Code.
Okay.
Have you gone through it?
I haven't. No.
Okay. So this kind of if you look online, The Nature of Code, it's processing based, but I'm sure you can find sort of people who wrapped guides based on JS. I mean, they're very similar. But this book or this guide is so popular that people have even done like Python-based thing that's like following its sort of curriculum, so to speak. And it's cool because a lot of the tutorials you find online, it's not necessarily visualization focused, right? Like it's just like to teach people how to actually just like program. And this is like more on like design and geometry and all these like things that you probably are
exactly
trying
what I'm
to do.
looking for.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
sounds
So the
great.
nature of code. I mean, they even have like YouTube tutorial series. I think you probably already see it if you search. So yeah, I would recommend that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I love your work.
Thank you.
The only one I have is the complaints one, but I love it.
No, thank you so much. And also for all the support. It means a lot.
Yeah. And thank you for taking the time to do this Q&A
For
session.
sure. Yeah, and also just reach out anytime. I mean, that was a very short answer, but I'm sure I can probably help more if you like.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
That's all I had, but I thank you. I just
Cool.
had to make sure I step
Yeah.
up.
Thanks.
Thanks for jumping up, Crypto Bro.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Oh, regular dads jumped back in. Are we going to get 100% for the questions? You better jump up here, regular dad.
I've talked to regular dad every now and then.
Yeah, you come up with a new strategy, Ellen. Just start talking about people.
Just taunt people until they come up and ask a question.
Yeah. I don't think regular dad even likes MFers. I think he's a big MF fader. And if he doesn't speak up, I'm going to assume.
Oh no, he dropped off.
I always think of people like either they can't speak at all, or they're like they language, like there's a good reason, and I just think of how horrifying it is when people call you out. So just for the record,
No,
that's
he's-
Ellen. It's Ellen, not me.
He's probably busy with his daughter.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, have you got any last questions, Scobes?
No, I don't think I have anything else, because anything else that I start talking about will totally take me off the rails for what I'm trying to get done right now. Rabbit hole. I don't do any coding, but I was talking to a really amazing coder in Web3 the other day, and we were talking about something, and I was like, well, I'm not a coder or a developer, and he's like, yeah, you're just like a closet developer. Like, it's coming. I can see you getting close. Like, he just was calling me out. So
Yeah, you can't resist. You'll get there.
Oh, it's like one of those things in my life when I was younger. I work with developers my entire career, and it's just one of those skills that I just wish that I had picked up earlier. I know enough to, get around it and do a few things here and there, but definitely it's slowly creeping its way back in. So maybe
That's
we'll
me
do a
too.
follow-up chat here sometime and just start talking about. There's just so much, man. Like, you're the same as me, right? There's so many platforms, ideas.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe one little question. I'm curious because, like, the GLB thing is really interesting, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you see my tweets and you agree. Like, I think it gets so interesting as we joke about, right-click save a JPEG, and what's the point of an NFT if I can just save it? But GLB is like totally different. Yeah, you could figure out how to download it, through a browser in a lot of cases, but like having a GLB file and actually being able to bring it into your on cyber or have it in a VR AR platform is super unique. I'm curious, like, have you come across any really great either tools or platforms that do a better job of sort of displaying GLB files than the traditional OpenSea and other platforms?
Yeah, well, I think besides on cyber, there's this Monaverse, right? I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but I think
Not.
I think it's actually in a way a competitor of
Okay.
on cyber. but it's I think it's a little like heavier. I'd say like the geometries are not as rough. It's actually like pretty refined. So you should check that out. I think it's supposed GLB as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I just wish that what I'm looking for, I think, is like if you clicked on, one of your OpenSea NFTs,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's changed, but it's fairly limited in terms of lighting and what you can do. It'd just be cool if there was some type of a platform for just displaying, these GLB interactive stuff with a higher fidelity lighting, shading, like some extra stuff that we don't get.
Yeah, I think that's not ready anywhere. I mean, like I
Not
was
happening.
surprised
Yeah, I
that
know.
Deca even started. I think they support GLB now. The other day I was like browsing through it, and it's like it's so slow on my computer, and I'm not sure why. But let me check it out. So I mean, not in terms of lighting and all that, but I think it still doesn't.
Not
But
working.
yeah,
Full screen, maybe? No.
I'm pretty sure they did at some point, but I guess it's gone again. Yeah, no, I mean, I think GLB, the format itself is already like somewhat problematic, right? Like it's really pretty bare bone. So, I mean, one way to do is definitely through code. Like if you do 3JS, right, and then you can view it on HTML. I think some art blocks project actually does that, right? Like they actually have 3D visualizations using JS library.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my next project, is to learn how to code a website that can display a bunch of really cool, like both my own portfolio kind of as like a 3D interactive experience, but also some 3D assets. I've seen YouTube videos of people doing it, and I'm fascinated. So that might be one of my future things to figure out.
Yeah, definitely look into 3JS.
Yeah.
Is that something that AI could help you do, to code something like that?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, just as a companion for the code portion of it and all that stuff. I'm sure if you sat down and asked ChatGPT to help you make a interactive website, it'd probably get you pretty far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's as soon as I get through this project, I'm gonna think about it.
Always something to do.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
list keeps getting
I don't know how
longer,
people get
Scobes.
bored. Is that?
Your list keeps getting longer.
I know. That's it. It's like when someone says that they're bored, or my brain is like, I don't think anything triggers me more in life than when people are bored, because there's just so
I'm
much,
exactly the same.
like
Yeah.
overwhelming, right? There's an old movie, I can't remember the name of it, about time as a currency. And I swear to God, that would be like, if I could just start buying time from people. Like, you're bored? All right, give me 4 hours okay, I was gonna say something mean there. But
Careful what you wish for when people can stop
I
buying
know.
time.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
like a
know,
Black
right?
Mirror episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably in there. But yeah, we'll go down the technical rabbit hole. This, I think, was an awesome overview of your work and everything that you're doing. And we record all these, so wow, this is cool.
Yeah, so
We
this
record
is
this is
kind of CJS based, and then like view on HTML. So just an example to show.
looks like an on cyber gallery you could want to fly through.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. But yeah, well, like I say, we'll have the recording, and you have another asset you can send to people if they ask you about your work. But it's awesome.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, cadmonkey. That was
Thank you.
awesome and mind-blowing stuff.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yeah, really good to chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, as Scobe said, excuse me, we'll have this all recorded and ready to share shortly.
All right.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
Thanks
everybody.
all. Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
Yep.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye.
See y'all.